Gary and Dan, welcome along to Love.Live.Local. How are you guys?
Yeah,
good, thank you.
Feeling good.
Nice to see you, Brent.
Now, Springboard. Gary, I want to talk to you first.
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about how Springboard came about and, you know, the purpose of what Springboard does?
Sure. So I guess you could say the seed or the starting place of Springboard was back when I was farming. So I was a farming by trade, and I live and breathe farming. My family does.
Right.
So my grandfather, my dad, my brothers, my uncles, everybody, if you're a Dipros, you're born to die a farmer. So I was on that journey, and so we owned our cows, and we were on this place of farm ownership.
Right.
But through my journey in that space, I just really felt deep within my heart a place of, I don't know, sort of a regret that was what my life was going to amount to.
Right.
So I asked this deeper question, is this it? Is this my lot? So I wanted to help people, but I didn't know anything about helping people. I knew how to milk cows and put in a post, but this desire, especially when I got married to my wife, Michelle, she also had this real, I want to do something with purpose. I want to do something that has a greater meaning than just looking after our own land. So it started in that real cry in the heart. And so back in 98, we sold our cows to follow this dream of the unknown kind of purpose in life. And for 4 years, I hit what I would class my wilderness years.
Right.
Nothing came, no jobs were coming, my cows were gone, I was just milking everybody else's cows, and so I was feeling really pretty stink, actually. And then we got this phone call from Wrightson's to come up to Warkworth for an interview for helping kids learn how to farm.
Right, okay.
So that's kind of how it started. That was
Yeah.
our introduction to Warkworth. I had no idea where it was. So we came up here, and I come out of that interview, and I couldn't have been more scared. I couldn't have run the other way quicker.
Right.
When I found out that these kids were trouble with the law,
Right.
didn't listen to mum and dad, definitely didn't listen to teachers, knew what the middle finger did, and were really in a lot of strife. Drugs was their kind of everyday life, and I was like, shoot, never seen this stuff before. And to tell you the truth, I'd never seen a drunk person. And here
Right.
I was sitting at 34,
Yeah.
very sheltered life. So I came back and I said, no, Shell, this is not when I wanted to help people. I was on a journey then of, do you want to have purpose in your life? Because this is where it sits in front of you.
Right.
So this real deep conviction, a calling, a kind of like a God moment for me, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just like, this is it. This is what I want you to be able to get into. So I had to talk to Michelle, and she also was aligned with that thinking of coming up and working with these kids. So I was fearful. Like if I was going to be classing myself as the fearful farmer, doing something I didn't want to do, that was my lot, my friend. That's what I came up to. So we were up here for 3 weeks, left everything, came up into Warkworth, rented a house, got the kids into a job, and saw what these kids were like.
So you're probably thinking, I mean, how if they don't listen to anybody, why are they going to listen to me? Why do you think they did listen to you?
Brent, they didn't want to listen to me.
Right.
What they could do is they saw me as a relief teacher.
Right.
They could smell my fear. They took this as a sport. They said, we're going to burn this guy out and spit him out of our community. You watch this. So they all had this little pack of how to do it. So when you talk about listening to me, they were far from it. And to tell you the truth, I was miles away from even influencing them.
Right.
So, yeah, they were doing things like my first week alone, we had a kid hit over the head with a baseball bat and blood running down his head.
Oh, my goodness.
We had the fire brigade come out because one of the kids thought it'd be a funny joke to smash the glass and set it off. Got in trouble with them. The next day they thought it'd even be funnier to light a fire at the front. They were going in the van down the road. The only difference was I wasn't in the van. I was still in the classroom. And then I just thought on the Friday I'm going to take these kids away and just see what this backyard was like. Went up to Mangawhai. And one kid asked me if I could go for a walk with him because he wanted to tell me about his family. I thought, this is the breakthrough I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't. He was just taking me away from the group as they all got stoned and were having a good old time.
Put the van up on blocks and took the tyres.
Yeah, you got the idea. So I came back that day to tell you the truth. How am I going to get these kids to listen to me? I can't. They're running wild. And I guess probably where my turning point was, and it's something that I talk to my staff today, and I call it the 20-second window. Right. Somewhere during my week, and it was generally for 20 seconds, and I didn't know what kid it would be, where it would be, when it would happen, or what it would be, but the kid would open up and share a little bit about their vulnerability of what's going on in their life.
Right.
And it just put me on my seat.
Wow.
Because some of this stuff was like heavy, what these kids were going through emotionally. And I'm going, what, you were kicked out of the classroom because you swore at a teacher, but you know you're going home to be beaten up by dad? Yeah, that's just what I got to do. And one kid, and it rocked me, and he said, my dad, I found hanging in a tree. It's my fault that he committed suicide. So a kid, like just a 20-second, whoa, what's, I couldn't process the information they were telling me. I smoke drugs. We all smoke drugs in our family. You have a cup of tea in your family, we just do drugs. It's no big deal. And so what it did, it put me on a real journey, man. If I'm going to have any influence on these kids, if I'm going to have any opportunity to grab any kind of chance of giving them to believe in themselves, I've got to listen to them. So they effectively became my teacher,
right?
As I listened to them.
Yeah.
And that was what caught them off guard, because they were used to being judged. They were used to being told how to change.
Yelled at, I suppose.
They weren't used to someone going, tell me what's going on. And I got to a place, it was almost like a branding, and like, because I was from farming, it felt like the old red hot iron, that you'd brand a stock back in the olden days. Felt like something happened to my heart. Someone's got to stand in the corner of these kids. Somebody's got to do this.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is listening to them, and none of these kids think there's anyone positive because they're so busy judged, and yet they've got to go home to this. So I said, I tell you what, kid, I don't know how to help you, but all I can do is welcome you, believe in you, love what, as a person, be, work with you and hear your story. And I'm not going away. I'm going to be in your corner.
Wow.
So that's what created this shift where the kids started to listen to me, because they respected me because I respected them.
Right. You actually listened to them first time in their lives. That's where it all starts, right?
Some of them was just needing someone to say, hey, I'm okay.
Yeah. And Springboard rose out from that.
Yeah, because what was interesting is, because I was, as you can tell, on the steepest learning curve of my life, knew how to milk a cow, but now I'm looking after these kids that nobody else wanted to work with. And it was probably a 2-year journey. Like, let's get fair. Like, I was coming home pretty smashed at the end of the day emotionally because of what I was going through. Once I could see that the kids were prepared to listen or trust somebody and then start to go on a journey of change, I started to lighten up. This is why I sold my cows.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I thought, how do I wrap around these kids and give them even better chance for succeeding, not just a one program, which is what that stage we're doing, was kids that were removed from college. So that question became the catalyst of setting the foundation for Springboard. So now we've got 22 staff. We're working with 250 odd kids, all working on that the different scale line of high risk, high drug use, in trouble with law, kicked out of college, to a kid that's actually anxious, disengaging from school, being bullied, or a bully, or parents are saying, we just don't know what to do with our teenage son or daughter because they're sort of starting to do this stuff. So we take the whole sliding scale. But pretty much what Springboard's focus is, if a kid needs help, if a parents need help, count us in. That's what we're about. No matter what risk, no matter how far, because my belief is no one has gone too far for a helping hand up, and no one is so bad that they can't have a chance to have a go at getting a bright future.
That's brilliant. And that's just what people need,
Totally.
They need us sorting out. So, Dan, you work here, and can you tell us about some of the programs that Springboard does?
Yeah. I think the foundation, where to go first is the foundation of Springboard, which is based on the alternative education program.
Right.
So that's focused on 13 to 15-year-olds who have been removed from mainstream education for whatever reason. Often there's behaviour complexities and those sorts of things in the mix. Currently in this climate now, more your anxiety, depression, and those kinds of things contribute to why a young person may not be successful in a mainstream setting. So they come here for their education program, focused on helping them achieve the education outcomes around NCEA level 1.
Yeah, sure.
But also I think what's real crucial to, I suppose, the way we run all of our programs is the giving these young people the things that they've probably not not received in different settings, whether that be in education, home, in the community, whatever that is things like purpose, hope, a place to feel like they can belong and call their family. So our education program in that setting is a family. Okay. And so in that you're learning how to be amongst others. And so while education is an outcome, what I love about the other aspects of what we do and throughout all of our programs is we're also contributing citizens to a community. Yeah.
So the thing is too, I mean, if they're not doing well in education, one of the things is because they're not learning things that they're interested in. So do you find that if you find something they're interested in, their education and their willingness to learn and do a bit more, is greatly increased?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think hook is one of those things for all of us.
Yeah.
It's that interest hook. And even in the way we run our programs, it's like that. There's relational hook that needs to grab. That feeling that, I can trust you with my journey, and then I can trust you with my 20-second window, or I can trust you with my goal setting and being vulnerable to let you know what it is that I'm challenged by, what my traumas are, and then we can start the process of working through those things. So vulnerability is such a big part of where our young people have to arrive, and that doesn't happen overnight. It's not a Pantene ad, It's definitely. I'm primary trained teacher in background, and I came into this sector of education because I love the idea that we can relate to young people in such a different way than you have to in a mainstream setting, because the system doesn't work for everybody.
No, it doesn't.
It's a system, and it's not that it's broken necessarily, but it's just that it doesn't work for everybody. So in this setting, we get to be relational. We get to stand alongside a young person, and we've all needed that. I've needed that in my life, and I think the way we run our programs is like that. I mean, we've got 10 programs that we run. So we've got 2 education programs that cover level 1 and level 2. We've got mentoring in the community. That's a preventative program that started really, Gary, when you were dropping off young people from the old TED program, and going, hang on a minute, there's siblings running around,
right?
So how do we get into a preventative measure? So we have volunteers in our community that are matched with a identified young person, and they spend time together, just nurturing relationship, just supporting where they can. We've got our Elevate Family Services, which is where we have social workers supporting young people in their well-being needs and navigating some of the things that health issues or support services or whatever it is that they can access to help them work through their needs. And we also have a social worker in school program that operates in Walsford Primary School, which is again that same thing. It's young people in the school, families in the school that are getting direct help from a social worker.
Yeah, because I think it's I know in business the new thing is find your why. Why do you do everything? And I think that find your why is for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just for a business; it's for people in general.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and a lot of the why that we find with our young people, even though they've got their traumas and their backgrounds, a lot of the why is focused. They are focused on their future. They do want somewhere to go. They are, like you talk to a number of our kids, and they want a job.
Yeah.
They don't want to be on the streets. They don't want to be a menace to society, if that's what they're being labelled.
Yeah.
They don't want to be drug users. I just had an interview with a 15-year-old yesterday who has given up drugs because he went on a ski trip. So he was exposed to an opportunity, and he was like, I don't even know if I want to do that. You don't know how long I've been using, Dan.
Yeah.
It's that kind of tension. But he thought, man, I've got this opportunity to go on a ski trip. I might not never get to do that again. So he was like, okay, I'll do it for 3 days. He gave up, and he go, oh, well, this is easy. So he continued to.
Not only that, it was also, the natural high of just doing life without that little high with it.
Yeah.
They just, whoa.
Yeah.
And that was the ski trip or something that they fundraised for. They went out and did some work. So there's all this work skills, teamwork stuff. building to get a reward, and then go down there knowing that they've done the hard work. So the snow trip's amazing.
And there'd be a few people who've never been to the snow, never seen it, never knew what it was about.
No, exactly. Totally different world.
And it's a business as well. There's all these things they get exposed to by doing that, right?
Massive.
And they've invested in themselves by raising all the funds and making sure it all works and everybody behaves. So it's it's a great learning, isn't it?
I tell you what, Brent, I just want to let you in on a little window of the camp. Is we finished being on the snow and having fun, and some kids got it, some kids didn't, but we come down in the evening around the fire and we started to share, and our tutor did a circle of life, which was speaking affirmation into each of these kids,
right.
And then they started to speak into each other, and that went on for 2 hours as these kids spoke life into each other right there. And that's because we took them out of the influences. We gave them an amazing opportunity, and they could feel family, and they could feel safety, and it's so powerful. So proud of the guys.
And starting to feel the value in themselves, right?
And valuing their peer. So good, considering these are the kids that are supposedly don't fit into a system,
right?
Yet they're leaders, really, in their own right.
Wow. And I think you discover in this journey that I've actually never met a smoker that doesn't want to give up. I've never met a young person that doesn't want a future that is a good future. I've never met a person on a benefit who just wants to stay there. And so the natural human condition actually wants to lift, actually wants to rise. And I think there's something about what I'm seeing with our young people, like this young man who's given up drugs. He said to me yesterday in this interview, I've just become a better version of myself.
Brilliant.
Now, young 15-year-old, they don't use that language.
No, they don't.
Unless something's taking place inside. And so that's the gold. Through all of the stuff that we have to navigate with these young people through whatever program, that's the gold. And going back to, I suppose, the idea of hook, I suppose the way that Springboard has grown over nearly 20 years is see a need, meet a need. And it's almost like, what's the next thing that these kids are looking for? Not just because we're trying to fill them up, but in the last couple of years we've launched a driving lessons and a driving academy,
right? Because
we feel there's this gap with young people in this region who are going, well, actually, I want to get a job, but I can't even get there.
No, that's right.
And then the police are pulling them over because they're driving either without a license or with the learners. So now we've established a driving academy that takes kids right through to their restricted and beyond if we can get them to their full. We're running now or developing now a youth employment program that is developing them with skills that are soft skills, essential skills, work ethics, communication, punctuality, all of those kinds of things, as well as actually hard skills, and developing them with something so that they can use those to transition into effective employment. And we're even engaging with the businesses in this community to help us with what does effective employment look like? It's kind of like we can give them a job and go tick. We've done our part. But that doesn't mean it's been meaningful or effective.
Right.
It just means that they got a job. And so now we're working with the community to continue to support these young people. Our latest and craziest one is the boxing fit classes that we've got happening here, which started with 3 or 4 kids that just were interested in hitting bag with Nikki. Now we've got a wait list on our boys club. We've got 20-something kids coming out to our boys. That'll be tonight. To box, and they're learning disciplines through sport. It's not learning fighting.
No, it's
learning disciplines that can only happen in a context of sport, and so they're being hooked and bitten.
So if you're not disciplined, you're going to get hurt in boxing, and anyway, even using a bag, right? So
it's a cool story. The person who's running that was on our first mentoring as a kid, as a 15-year-old, that was kicked out of college.
And Nikki, right?
Nikki.
I saw a story on Nikki, and there was an interview with Mr. McLeod from Mahurangi College about Nikki at school, and it's really inspiring, isn't it? Isn't it amazing?
So now she's putting back into her own community, and that's what I feel this is all about. It's not what Springboard can do in the community, but it's as we as community, like with police coming in here, working, how do we work together with education, with businesses, with mentors, with families? It's just like, That's what I feel is exciting. It feels like there's a belief system sitting within our community. You know what? As we work together, we can make a difference in the way this community looks, but also for that young life that they think that their life's over at the age of 14. They're giving up hope. That kid starts to get the light bulb. Oh, maybe there is a chance for me. So it's a double, and that's what I think's made Springboard grow from strength to strength to strength, because the community are championing us as well.
Yeah, that's great. I want to talk about something that you are doing too, because I've seen the movie that you guys have put together. Because meth, I mean, in our community, it's just so incredibly damaging. And you showed me the movie, and it was so very powerful. So how did that all come about?
I don't know if we can call it a movie.
I know.
But maybe it's a doco sort of style.
It is, yeah.
How that came about was we have an annual fundraiser in connecting our community to our story, allowing the young people to connect to the wider community, what their story is. So we've done that for 10 years now. And our not last year, the year before that, someone in our community had been working with our local police. The sergeant at the time, Beat Hui, were like, there's such a need to stop the flow of the damage that P is doing in our community. And so we can lock them and bust them. That's one way, but we've got to also educate people not to start in the first place. So it came out of that fundraiser.
Right.
And so the community actually funded it to put a doco together. So we got 4 stories. 2 of those stories are kids that have been involved with Springboard, and 2 of them were just other locals that were just everyday kids. Now, some of those, 2 of those kids had come from quite broken homes, but 2 of those kids had come from actual, what we would have called safe, well, high-moraled Christian homes.
Oh, right.
So we're just talking about a wide, birth of, it can take out any of our kids.
Yeah.
Anyone, including my own kids.
Yeah.
And I pray that not upon them at all, but I think as a community we have to be aware that it's a destroying drug.
Yeah.
So we got these 4, and man, did we learn so much as they opened up and what happened and how they got into it and the effect it had, and then coming back out of it. And so we put this doco together with the whole idea that we would go back into the college to educate them, not even once. Do not play with this. This is serious stuff. It's not worth trying to be cool, smoking a pipe around a party. Don't go there. So we went into the year 11s this year, and we took a social worker, which is our Elevate service that Dan was talking about, an ex-meth user, who this particular person is working with Springboard now, and they're down the back. And they are also another person that's come through our programs and now championing young people forward. Really exciting what happened to this young guy. So he was on the panel, local youth aid officer John Williams, and we went in there and did an hour's presentation. Man, you could have heard a pin drop as they heard and listened to Daniel's story.
Yeah.
And so we know this is powerful.
Yes.
And it was crafted in a very, very well story-written way. Yeah. And we believe this has got a resource that could go anywhere in this country. So we've test piloted it here first. Next year, we want to be able to get into the Rodney College, hopefully, and into Mahurangi College, and work with the year 12s and 13s as well, just to get the message out. And then it's up to the young person to make the right choice.
It was incredibly powerful, and I watched it, though. It was, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, you guys. I mean, the work you're doing is incredible. And one of the big things is funding. So at the moment, we've got Fund a Future, which I think is a great name for it, because you guys are working and funding kids and people in the community, right? So what are you doing, and how do people get involved in it?
Yeah. So due to COVID, obviously the world,
COVID.
this swear word probably, COVID-19. The world is a different place, and I suppose like everybody, pressure will cause people to do one of two things: take opportunities or buckle under pressure. And one of the things that we've had to consider is how we can reimagine what it looks like to.
Well, we had to cancel, didn't we?
We had to cancel our fundraiser, our annual dinner, and then reimagine how we can continue to see funding come in so that these programs can continue to be delivered and young people continue to find those futures. So we have engaged in an online funding campaign called Fund a Future. And it's about that, funding the future of a young person, funding their hope, their job aspects, their that could be within a future of 3 or 4 months, just to get their education credits, whatever it may be, to help them go forward.
Okay, so your fundraising goal is $250,000. I think the last time I looked, you're somewhere around over $60,000, right?
Yeah, gone over 70 now.
Oh, hey!
Yeah,
over 70.
That's good.
Now, you've got a couple of businesses who are supporting you greatly for this, haven't you?
Yeah, totally. And that's what's actually created just the generosity flowing on big time from our community. So Kennard's Hire and Northwood Developments have seen the work we do, get right in behind us. So Kennard's Hire have been with us for 2 years now, and they said, we will put money in that will be doubled collectively between these two businesses up to $100,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it is a wow. And it is an absolute dream for any fundraiser, really, that we can say every dollar given, that $2 will actually be given to Springboard. So, we just sort of liken it with $100 because we're a charity. You can get a third of that back. So effectively $100.
Yeah.
$67 given out of your pocket effectively is $200 in us for the work that we're doing. The reason we've got a target of 250 is that's what we've fundraised with our annual fundraiser in the last 2 years through this concept of doubling our money, and that's what's essential to keep our programs running.
Okay, so I mean, $250,000, you're going to get there. I reckon you might even bust it. Can you
go come on, now you're talking.
Well, I like the opportunity that, man, here's a chance that we've got that outsiders, Northwood are in our own community, but Kennard's Hire have come on board. But man, I just go like far out. They've said for every dollar given, these both organisations, it's almost a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So if we can get 100,000 given, we know that that's going to be 100,000. So that honestly, it makes all the difference for what Springboard does long term going forward.
Okay. So where's the best place to go find out all the information about that?
fundafuture.springboard.org.nz has a whole lot of ways that you can give. But also it has content in there around who we are. Yeah. There's an amazing story of a young person that was a part of Springboard and tracking a season of his life. So you can watch that, and you can read about
story as well, behind it as well, isn't there?
The story behind.
There's another story on. So it's just kids telling their stories, which is phenomenal,
Yeah.
Well, that is great. Like, I just want to thank you guys for the work that you do. I know you've got a massive team around you as well who all give their time, but just thank you for what Springboard is doing for people in our community. We are very grateful, and all the best for the fundraiser, and we will chat again for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brent.
Appreciate it, Brent.